So welcome to the March edition of Drinks and Demos. We have Steve here. So, how many of you have heard of MyShoebox? How many of you have an iPhone? How many of you have a BlackBerry? How many of you, are you on Android? Yeah. How many of you have an Android phone? I would encourage you all to go on and search for MyShoebox in either the, I don't think it's called the BlackBerry app world, but whatever the BlackBerry place where you get apps from is, go to the App Store on iOS or go to Google Play and download this app, and I'll let Steve tell you why. Steve, what's MyShoebox?
Thank you. MyShoebox is unlimited free photo backup. And what we're trying to do for people is unify their photo collections. We did a lot of product research when we got started, and kind of we'd go into houses and we'd see the same thing over and over again. We'd find someone and they'd like, where's your photo collection? They'd pull up their laptop, they'd open and say, this is my photo collection. It's like, all right, show me a photo from 2006. It's like, oh, that's in my basement on my old desktop. Okay, show me a photo you took yesterday. Oh, that's on my iPhone. And we just kind of go through these scenarios, and these people's photos collections exist across all these devices, and as we iterate through them, they kind of get more and more spread out. So we built a system designed to unify your photo collection once and for all. Whenever you get a new device, PC, tablet, phone, whatever, just install the app and it automatically unifies your collection in the cloud, gives you unlimited free backup, and allows you to access any photo from anywhere. So that's a short version.
That seems like a pretty good value proposition. How many people have actually now downloaded the app? All right, we do have one. Come on, people, we can do more than that. Employees don't count, apparently. But no, that seems like a pretty solid idea. Like, have you always been entrepreneurial? What's your background? And then what sort of prompted this idea?
I've always been entrepreneurial. I had a startup in university, although I did go corporate when I graduated. I went to Microsoft for 4 years, where I worked on Microsoft Kin. I was the PM for augmented reality and Windows Phone. So always been entrepreneurial. When I graduated, I decided to take a few years off and make some actual money before I quit my job and got back into it. But then finally, about the 4-year mark, I realized I don't know anyone who works at Microsoft for 5 years and never leaves, so I quit and moved back to Toronto and started to do this.
Okay, and I know I've heard a couple stories from you. You were on this roll a while back where you would launch a project every month. Tell me about those projects.
Okay. When I first quit, I knew I wanted to start a company, and I had a few ideas, but I had never done it successfully before. I only had one kind of flop in university, and I wanted to learn a lot in the first few months without getting super tied down. So I made a kind of just a deal with myself that I'd launch a new product every month for a few months and see how that went. And the first month I launched the #1 or #2 Twitter client for the HP Touchpad. Yep, big market there. Because they were on the fire sale right there. They just sold like 500,000 of them, and there was no good Twitter client. And that went incredibly well. I actually sold a lot of Twitter apps, and it was very popular. And of course, I'm not selling them anymore because they've stopped making those. The next month, I launched something called Connect.me. Oh, wait, no, Folio Space. Almost or a similar product to what you're building now. And that one actually went over budget, month and a half, launched that one, and it didn't take off like crazy. The first one took off like crazy. Second one just kind of sat there, and it was this kind of moment I realized, oh wait, startups take work, and then you need to market them, then you need to find your users and do all that stuff, and realized, okay, if I really want to get passionate about something, I need to spend more time on it. So started doing product or user research in a few different areas, ended up focusing on photo collections, and that's kind of how we ended up on MyShoebox.
Okay, so it sounds like the biggest difference. So first of all, I just want to say that talking to Steve about his portfolio site, I found incredibly helpful. Actually, a lot of the feedback he gave, you will see in, I don't want to call it version 2.0 because we haven't even launched yet. So whatever the next version of the beta version is, the redesign I'll call that, some of that was influenced by the talks with Steve. So we're still tight. And then secondly, I wanted to hit on the main differences between the side projects you were launching and getting into extreme startups and launching MyShoebox. You said customer research. Actually, the talks you had, it sounds like you went into people's homes and said, hey, show me some photos. What did you learn from talking to your customers, and who are they?
It was interesting. I didn't have any specific goal for what we wanted to build, but we just kind of went into discovery phase around photo collections themselves. So tried to, stay away from the Instagram kind of crowd and like, okay, you've got 10,000 photos somewhere, show them to me. And just seeing how people kept their collections, how they used them. And it was a really interesting discovery process because people had the photos. They have like 10,000 plus photos somewhere in their home and they don't use them. It's just they're sitting on devices they don't use. They're sitting on hard drives they never plug in. They're there. They care passionately about them. They've got their grandma's photos on there, and they've got their old birthdays on there, and they're something that users are super super passionate about that they never ever touch or use or open or play with. So we just we thought there was something exciting there, and it was the difference between this and the previous projects was the user research. Instead of just diving in with something instinctive and saying, "Hey, Twitter's cool, let's do that," or portfolios are cool, let's do that, and then give up after a month. It was okay, we really care about this problem. Let's try to figure out what the root problem is, and we found it in this problem that they're just spread out and never used.
So from talking with them, are you getting more like a better sense of the problems they face and then giving them solutions, or are some of the feedback like actually giving you product feature ideas?
Almost always just discovering the problem. It's interesting. It's hard to distill the problem from the actual user research. Everyone's home we went into, the interesting thing we saw, everyone's really passionate about how they organize their photos, and everyone does it completely differently. So it's like I do year and then month and then event, and I do event and then I tag it by who gave me the photos, and everyone's got these really complex systems that they really care about, and they would say, I need this or I will not use your product. But what you kind of do is you go and do enough of those meetings and you distill they want to be searched by event. And that's what they're really trying to do. This whole system is designed around to let them do this one thing, or the whole system's designed around to let them figure out who gave them those photos, because sometimes you get photos from other people. So you do enough interviews that you're not looking at any one person and saying, oh, we're building that thing she asked for. We're building that thing we saw over and over again that was done 10 different ways using folders and tags and these other old systems, and try to build a better version of that.
So number one lesson, talk to your customer.
Yeah, a bunch of them, not one.
Okay. Yeah, if you're making it for one customer, that's no good. And then you had a whole slew of great press. You were in TechCrunch, you were in Forbes, actually that's all I can name, but you can probably name the rest of them.
Yeah, we were lucky. So we got in this cool cycle. We launched October 30th, got TechCrunch because we had set that up through the accelerator we went to. And then just kind of this, it was an avalanche, but TechCrunch set off enough people joining our thing that TechCrunch wrote another article about our first week worth of growth, which was basically caused by TechCrunch a week earlier, which set it off enough other people like Forbes and all these other publications to write about us. And we got all these write-ups, which set up enough growth for TechCrunch to write a 1 week or 1 month follow-up on our growth. And it's kind of this avalanche of completely unsustainable press-driven growth. That was great at making sure your systems can scale at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. And it was a lot of fun, and it's kind of just going it was a crazy month, basically, yeah.
So I remember hearing a story about your first article in TechCrunch, and you had a really good piece of advice for me then about when talking to reporters. Care to share? Yes,
I was about to my first interview with TechCrunch. It was 5 minutes before it started. My buddy pulled me aside because he'd been interviewed a few days earlier and said, just say the same 2 things over and over and over again. And it was focus, pick the exact message you want them to pick up and repeat it over and over again. Reporters are like anyone else. You can only, convey so much in one sitting session. So think of the 2 things you really want them to include in their article, and make sure you say that at least 3 times when you're talking to them if you want those 2 things to actually get picked up. And for me, it was unlimited free photo backup, unify your photo collection. And they'd ask me some question that reminds me how we unify your photo collection. What was the question again? Sorry. Yeah. But just make sure those 2 points are very obvious and you repeat them enough, and in your press materials and everywhere else. I think, yeah, unlimited free photo backup, view your photos anywhere, in priority order, is what we do for the consumer, because unlimited free photo backup sells. The ability that you actually unify your photos and view them anywhere is really awesome, but we haven't figured out how to sell that as well yet. So we sell one thing and we deliver on a lot more than we're just promising there. So make sure you have a very, very clear and concise message. Repeat it as many times as necessary and as many times as you can.
So when the other people were writing articles about you, say the ones that came after TechCrunch, were they calling you up for an interview, or were they just going with the research they could find online? Like, how important was it to have a media kit?
A lot of them picked up stuff from the press kit. A lot of them you'd see like random screenshots from their own iPhone with like 4 random photos on it. It was a really mixed bag. Press kit got picked up a bunch. The random screenshots, TechCrunch got picked up a bunch. So having a like blog post or a press kit with all the right media there, we saw that. We still see that popping up all over the web. So it's really good, and that's absolutely necessary. And make sure that your blog has a very clear, distilled message of this is what we do, this is what we're about, and make it match your marketing page. And we're still incredibly happy that almost every article we read is exactly like, that's the message we wanted them to say. And just keep it simple, and you can get sidetracked and talk about your old jobs or the founder's history or this or that. That's not what you want them to write about, so don't talk about it. Just talk about what you want them to pick up if it's the press game.
So that makes sense. Clear, concise, corporate product messaging. If you say it, they will write it. Well, maybe not that way, but
3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times. That's right. Repeat yourself. You've gone from 0 photos to a gazillion photos in a short period of time. And I'm assuming if you're anything like, other startups, there are probably some bugs. How are you scaling customer service?
We scale customer service the same thing as almost to scale everything else. You start with a very minimal approach, and you let it go until it breaks. So everyone in the company gets every single support email right now, and it's both a product development decision that we should know where the pain is coming from. And the first time we get an email, we don't jump up and change the entire product vision. But if we get the same email over and over and over again, and that's happened a few times, we go and even if it's a lot of heavy lifting, we'll go fix a core bug or change the way something works. But right now, it's really like everyone in the company it's more product development than it is support. But we all get every email, and we're less like, we don't have a very good help section on our site, but we're like, email us. We're happy to help. And we're happy to hear that feedback, and it's been valuable in product development. And then we try to be really responsive and really supportive in the actual email support. So.
Okay. I know Facebook has a metric. They say if we can get you to 10 friends in 7 days from signing up, we know that you're going to be hooked, and we know you're going to keep using Facebook. Is there anything similar for MyShoebox?
We spend a lot of time trying to understand those. The ones that come up over and over again in our business are installing on multiple platforms. You really see the value when you've got 20,000 photos in the system, and you open up your phone and you access 20,000 photos. You can't do that with too many other systems or any other platforms. So when someone's crossed that boundary, having mobile and desktop, it's really powerful. Every metric we have go up across the board for that. And then it's also just this core number of photos. You put 6 photos into our system, not the most exciting product in the world. You put 100,000 plus in our system, like some of our users have, it actually becomes pretty cool. It becomes an interesting way of seeing your photos that isn't possible otherwise. So those two are, average photos per user and average number of platforms per user are the ones we really track, and we try to convert people across and convert people up.
So you're saying the whole system gets more valuable with the more photos you have on there. I know you were telling me a bit about your natural language search, and I think I read something once about almost like I don't want to say time machine, but you can time travel. That's what it was. So, wow, between a product that a company that shows products of the future and time travel on MyShoebox, that sounds cool. But those sound like pretty differentiating features compared to, say, other places to store photos. Tell me about them.
And that's where we try to go beyond storage. So everyone's like, the first question you get as a photo backup company is like, what about Dropbox? They do pretty good at that stuff, don't they? And we try to differentiate by doing a really great job at one vertical. And then for us, that's photos and hopefully eventually videos. And that means organization, it means sharing, it means everything you want to do with a photo, doing that better than someone else can. So time travel is this thing where we build an interactive infographic of your life, shows you every device you've ever owned in a cool time layout, the top events of your life. We can actually just pick it out. It finds my wedding and all these other, my anniversaries and all these things, and just puts them up there, and maps of every place I've traveled. So it's how can we bring more value to you from all this data you've stored for all these years, it's like, Foursquare is happy because they've got like 4 years of check-in data on a bunch of users. Our system can, upload 10,000 photos to it. We know your last 10 years of your life, the last 15 years of your life, and we can start showing you value from that, actually derive value. And my background is actually, I worked in computer vision or augmented reality at Microsoft before this, so I really want to get to the point where we're contextually understanding each of your photos and can find these interesting sets of photos that you totally forgot about or have something weird in common, late nights in Whistler or whatever it is, but really bring value to you from your old photo collection and then just effortlessly let you actually derive value from this stuff that you was collecting dust before.
Really interesting. It sounds like there's nothing to lose for someone to use MyShoebox. It's free. There's no catch, or where's the catch?
There's no catch. We have a pro account as well. We store unlimited free photos at a reduced resolution. Our pro account is an upscaled resolution, but when we kind of do this competitive analysis, it's like Dropbox. You can put 2 gigs worth of photos, which is like a fraction of most people's collections. So you can put every photo on it. If you really love the service, you can pay us and keep original resolution. But either way, we want to build the best product possible for all of our users, not just the few percentage points that pay.
All right. Well, that sounds really interesting. Everybody, big round of applause for Steve.